I know things are tough these days, and a lot of times when people think things are tough, we tend to relax. And when we relax, we have a drink, whether that's an alcoholic beverage or a non-alcoholic beverage. Do you ever wonder if that beverage is good for you? Do you ever wonder what's in it? I mean, we've seen food and we've seen drinks and all the stuff that they make it taste so great, and you wonder what's in it. Like, is it good for me or is it not so good for me? Well, today I have a special guest, Amy Holmwood, who is the CEO and founder of the Holistic Spirits Company. It is an alcoholic beverage company that makes the beverage that's not as bad for you. It's actually all the stuff that goes in it. I know obviously alcohol can be not so good for you, but all the stuff that's made with it is actually really good for you. It's organic. It's picked out specifically for this drink. It's a blend that you'll love. And it's something that I wanted to talk to Amy about because her and her company just got B Corp status, which is really interesting. We talk about the B Corp status, what it means for the company, why she decided to go for that and the company to go for that, to build a better company. But we find out more reasons why and what was involved. And then we just talk about the sustainability aspect of making a better beverage. So we're going to talk about that on today's episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Let's start the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin. And this is the podcast where you find out what's happening with the ocean, how you can speak up for the ocean, what you can do to live for a better ocean by taking action. And on today's episode, I am very happy to welcome Amy Holmwood, who is the CEO and founder of Holistic Spirits Company. It is a phenomenal brand, a very new brand that's out there. Now, I'm not a huge alcohol drinker. I like my alcohol. I do like it. And I have it every once in a while, especially on like a hot summer day. If you're sitting on the dock or you're by the water and you enjoy a nice beverage to cool off and to have some fun, this is a beverage for you. And I'm looking forward to not only discussing what the beverage is like, but discussing the process of making a beverage in today's day where people want to know what's in their food and in their drinks, right? We want to know that it's healthy for us. We want to know that it's not that bad for us. You know, obviously this is an alcohol drink, and alcohol, if not consumed properly, can be bad for you. But if it's consumed in moderation and it has a nice blend to it and it's a healthy blend, it's an organic blend, and it's, you know, hand-picked basically in terms of the ingredients and what it goes into it. I want to find out more about that and the sustainability aspect around that. And Amy was so great, very transparent, wanted to tell us all about it, and she did in this interview. So here's the interview with Amy Holmwood from Holistic Spirits Co. Enjoy the interview, and I will talk to you after. Hey, Amy, welcome to the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Are you ready to talk about holistic spirits?
Yes, I am ready, Andrew.
Right on. I'm very excited about this because as a lot of the people in the audience know, Amy, I've been bringing companies on that do good in the world. Not only do they have a great product, but they have a product that is sustainably made. It's made with care. It's made for the audience and for their their customers, and just in a way that is just better for them, and it's better for the world. There's an impact, not just a profit, but there's an impact. And so I'm very excited to have you on, Amy, because we're going to talk about your company, which is called Holistic Spirits. Is it a company? Is it company or co?
Yes.
Okay.
Company.
There we go. And it's got like a lot of cool things to it. So we're going to get into sort of why you decided to start this company, what made you get into the alcohol business, and then the way it's created and all that wonderful stuff. We're going to get into all of that. And plus, congratulations again. We'll say it probably a number of times, but the company is now a B Corp, which is a great feature for the company. So we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, Amy, can you just let us know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Amy Holmwood. I'm the CEO of Holistic Spirits Company. I'm an entrepreneur, not having a background in the liquor space, but I really saw an unmet need for building a better for you spirit that has never been done before. So as a curiosity project, I just started down this road, and it's just been absolutely crazy. You know what it's like to try to get something off the ground that nobody's ever done before, like protect the ocean. So I'm so excited to share the story with you, Andrew.
I am excited to hear it. You mentioned you were an entrepreneur. And so obviously with entrepreneur, there are a number of different things that you test out and do things before you reach, something like Holistic Spirits. Can you talk about some of your ventures over time?
Yes. Well, I was a financial advisor
Oh, wow.
previous
Okay.
to being an entrepreneur in the spirits industry, but similar to being a female in an industry that's dominated by men.
Yes.
I was so fortunate to get into. I was in the insurance business with my father, and then unfortunately he passed away
Oh,
when
I'm
I was
sorry
in
to
my
hear
30s, and I had to kind of forge my own path there. But it was really a great experience having my own business and also being in a world where it was dominated by men, honestly, and dealing with, male clients and people that had their own businesses. So I was dealing with entrepreneurs and, family owned businesses
that.
mostly.
Hmm.
So I was able to really navigate really uncharted waters for business owners and learn a lot
Yeah.
about entrepreneurship and what it takes to grow a business and build a brand and, roll up your sleeves and get it done. And so at 50 years old, I was a little burned out and I retired from that industry. And I was really always so fascinated with the health and wellness space and
Right.
looking at natural health and natural medicine. I had issues as a child. I was very sick as a child. And I also contracted Lyme disease when I was in
Oh,
my early 30s. And
wow.
so that's an incurable disease
Yeah.
from a tick bite.
Yes.
And it causes premature aging is basically what it does. So set me down a whole different path of how to heal myself with food and plants, and really learned that food is medicine, and also meditation, and just that there's so many chemicals and things that were really affecting me in a negative way. So I was able to really learn about the things that aren't really good in our food sources. And so I really was trying to figure out, how am I going to insert myself into this and be like a resource for people. So I ended up getting kind of involved in the nutrition space for a while there, and went back to school, got a master's degree at Johns Hopkins, got a nutrition science certification from
Wow.
Stanford. Like, I went back to school for a while I was just on this quest, honestly, to
Yeah.
figure out where was I going to land. And through that process, I just couldn't understand, because I do like to have a cocktail and enjoy
Yeah.
that. I've always, I
Yeah.
told you my great grandfather was, Canadian. He was in the
Yeah.
liquor business back in the
Yeah.
day. And I just couldn't understand why nobody was working on using nutrition science as a foundation of making alcohol. And it's one of those itches that you can't like scratch enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I ended up deciding that I wanted to try to figure it out. How could we make alcohol less toxic using nutrition science? And was that possible? So that started probably in 2018.
Hmm.
And here we are, 2025.
Yeah.
And I think we nailed it. We have created something really special that the world needs to know about how to make it, not
Hmm.
just keeping it to ourselves. But there's so much that I learned along the way about the alcohol industry and the way that people don't really understand how it's
Yeah.
made and what's in it, that I felt like, gosh, we really have an opportunity to open the door and show people like this black box.
Yeah.
And so we're really excited about doing that. And that's part of the mission of the story, and also part of why we became a certified B Corp and attempted to do that, because you really have to open up everything to be,
Yeah.
reviewed, to
Right.
look at everything you're doing, which is such a great experience for a small company just starting
Yeah.
out.
For sure. And you talk about all these different times in your life, and I love how you're like, yeah, it was hard, but I made it through and retired like from the financial advisor business at 50, and then go back to school and stuff. It sounds like a lot of challenges you had to face through that time. What was one of the biggest challenges through that time? I know there's a lot of time in there, and there's a lot that happened in there, but what was the biggest challenge from like going from a full-time, business, and then, trying to figure out the next steps, but then having to go back to school to learn more about the process that you want to go in that direction? Because I would imagine that, there's a lot of risk involved. Like, what if this isn't something I want to learn after a while? Like, what was
Right.
that biggest challenge?
I think it's just that people building belief that
Mm,
what I was doing, I could get people to come along. So
right.
that's where I have always believed, and I've learned this from other entrepreneurs, that you have to share your ideas with people or you'll never get your idea off the
That's
ground.
so true.
I
So
mean, you
true.
have to tell as many people as you can. Do not keep your idea to yourself
Hmm.
because you'll never find the people that are going to help you build the idea if you don't talk about it. So that's
Yeah.
where the challenge was. So many people, especially people in the liquor industry, were saying that this would never work. Even if you could figure it out, it'll never succeed because you can't talk about it the way you're
Yeah.
going to need to for people to give a crap. And it's going to be really expensive to do. And you have no idea what you're doing anyway. And no one's going to buy brown vodka. So you should just stop even fascinating yourself with this.
That's very true though. When you think about it, brown vodka is like, wait a minute, isn't vodka
No.
clear? Yeah.
Yes. So I was like, I think they might. I
Right.
do. So it's having your own self-confidence, knowing that, because I know it's just like you with your marine biologist, you know so much more than 99% of the people about what you know. And it's hard for people to understand why you're so passionate, and maybe they just never will, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that you believe that, is that you believe it, and that you know what you know, and no one can take that away from you. So for me, it was like, I know what I know, and I know more about this probably than, because not a lot of people have actually thought about how to do this. And I found that because one of the things I did, Andrew, probably similar to the things that you do to rally your people, is found some of the most brilliant minds in the area of alcohol toxicology to talk to them first and say, hey, what do you think about, do you think this is possible? Now, I picked up the phone. I used to sell life insurance, so I would call anybody. Okay. I was not afraid to pick up the phone and call people.
Right.
Because I knew what I had was going to be something that was really important for them. Even if they didn't appreciate it, they just don't understand.
Yeah.
Because when they're on an airplane and they think it's going to crash, they're going to say, oh crap, I wish I would have bought that life insurance policy that Amy tried to sell me. You know what I mean? I know that. So I'm like, I know more than you do about how this is going to feel. So I really felt really strongly about this. And I called like experts all over, in academia. And they were liver cancer experts, and also experts in plant science. Drug development evolves from plant science. And I got incredible responses. Like, this is such a good idea. And you know what? Nobody's actually called me to ask me this question. So I think you could get a patent. So they're like, I'm an expert in the field. Nobody's called me to ask me anything about this. So I think this is really, like, I'd really like to help you with this. So I got a lot of people that were kind of excited. And then, of course, academia wanted to own all the intellectual property. So I had to go in a different direction than going with a big institution, which was fine. So I ended up, so it's finding those troops, those believers. So the biggest challenge is don't give up when you know you have something. And there are entrepreneurs, and this applies to any cause, where if your idea, if no one believes it's possible, it's the best time for your idea. It's called it's a contrarian truth. Okay. It's contrary to the truth. And that's when you have to build your idea, because that's when someone has to do it then. And who's going to, right? So that's why I got even more excited with all the rejection. I was like, yes, no one believes it. I know it's the right time.
Such a weird thing to hear, where it's like, oh, nobody believes it. Well, no, now I know I'm on the right path because people aren't believing it. That's
100%. 100% validation for your idea.
Now, let me ask you this. So, you talked about, you want to make the process better for people and less toxic. Let's talk about that initial process, like the regular alcohol that we get at a liquor store or so forth. What is so toxic? Is it the alcohol, or is it the stuff that's made around it?
All of it together. Okay. Sure. But you think of the industrial food machine, right? Industrial food. And that basically 90-something% of all American, it's industrial food, manufactured food. And it's alcohols that way too. So it uses a lot of water, a lot of waste, a lot of sludge, a lot of artificial ingredients and flavors and colors. And there are no labeling requirements by the FDA or the TTB to put any information on a bottle. The only time you have to put information on a bottle is if you say that you're made with organic ingredients. You're not certified organic. If you're made with organic ingredients, you have to put every ingredient on the label and say what percentage of it, which ones are organic and which ones are not. But other than that, if you're not made with organic ingredients, you do not have to put anything on the label. And
Doesn't
you have
that feel
no
backwards?
idea. It's so bizarre. So bizarre. It makes no sense to me.
Right. Right. I guess that's just the way, people lobby and they get the laws made and, they get it in a certain way so they don't have to put it down, because the more information you have, the more decision you can make. And if you don't have that information, you can't really make an informed decision. So you just end up just giving their word, or taking them at their word, right? And just being like, no, this is.
Well, they're not even telling, there is no word because nobody says anything. So the only thing you're seeing is with additive, tequilas they're talking about. Now, when you go to a finer restaurant, you're going to see additive-free list of tequila and then the regular tequila. There's no additive-free gin, vodka. There's no additive-free other page.
Gotcha.
Okay. And I don't know if they can have that because, frankly, I have no idea what's in all this other stuff. All I know is when we went to make our stuff, I had a mandate that we're not going to put anything in there that's not natural and made, from a plant. And so, and we weren't going to manipulate it with any art, even a color just for the sake of the color. We're not. Everything has a purpose for being in that bottle. Yeah. And so, this is something I think that the industry is going to be grappling with coming up real soon here, that because people are going to start asking more questions.
100%. I mean, we're seeing it in regular foods, not just in liquids, but we're seeing it in whole foods where even with whole foods, people are wondering how, you're labeling this as organic or non-organic, but how is this organic? It's not just a marketing scheme. I think a lot of companies are very, cognizant of the term greenwashing because it's been so apparent, and it's now you just see it all the time. And it's nice to have companies who are like, no, we're going to, the companies who are not greenwashing are the ones who are fully transparent. They put everything on their bottles because they're like, what, we know what was in here and we want to tell you what's in here so that you can make that decision. And yet the power goes back to the consumer. And that's what I love about this process. So when you decide to look, we're gonna make this with a number of different plant-based materials. What in terms of there's so many different species of plants. There's so many different types of berries you can put in, and all this types of stuff. Where do you begin in this type of area?
Right, you begin by hiring a really good food scientist that's worked with the FDA, because there's a list of ingredients you're allowed to put into alcohol. And it's a GRAS certification, generally regarded as safe. And the FDA has a list. And now you can go back to the FDA and say, hey, I want to put milk thistle. And they'll say, well, it's not on the list. Okay. So you're going to have to hire someone to get it on there. So we started with the list that was already available. Okay. And that's what we used. Yeah. We didn't want to fight that battle. We saw the list, and I hired a Danish scientist in Oregon who works with a lot of very unusual ingredients, some of which the ones that were on the list I'd never heard of before. And I was like, who's the top person with muscadine grapes? Yeah. And it happened to be Gita Jensen, PhD from, a little town in Oregon. And so, learning what ingredients could do potentially in terms of being able to stabilize. Alcohol is like a matrix. It's a liquid that's going to hold stuff, right? And so what can stabilize in there and actually maintain the benefits of the ingredients instead of having them be destroyed? Because alcohol is a solvent and it absorbs things, right? But it also can make them more powerful, or it could just make them rendered useless because they don't have any benefits left because it gets destroyed. So all this testing, it took almost 4 years of all this testing. Wow. And trying to find people to help us, and then also studying all the base spirits too, because alcohol can be made from cane, corn, wheat, sugar, whatever, all the different grapes, tulip bulbs. I mean, white wheat, winter wheat, European wheat, gluten-free wheat. I mean, the list goes on. So we had to study all of those too, because they have their own ramifications in terms of a chemical reaction that they have with the other plants. So that was very interesting and was a whole process.
It seems like you're trying to put a puzzle together that's never been put together, and the pieces may or may not form together, and you have to find that formula that it actually forms together. And so you said that took 4 years to figure out. Yeah.
From idea of those phone calls to these brilliant people to finding these people, going through a year and a half of universities that said they wanted to own everything, to pivoting, and then and then starting to make it, which we made it in a little kitchen in Salt Lake City, which the scientist that I work with, Natalie Chevreau, she's a beautiful French chemist who I knew from years ago from another company, and she had never worked on alcohol other than having it preserve ingredients for like cosmetics and stuff, because alcohol is used in a lot of products, right?
Yes.
And so we really sat in her kitchen with these different ingredients, and we're just hundreds of batches and just playing around with different things. And then to take that and then find a distillery to make that product, we were able to, what was really fun is I told you I'm from back east originally, the Bethesda, Maryland area.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated with a distillery in Frederick. It's the only certified organic distillery in the state of Maryland. And I thought, why don't we go talk to this gentleman who owns this and see if he would want to work with us, because it's right in our back door. We were there still while we were doing some of this research. And he was not really able to help us in the beginning, but once we came to him with the formula, he was totally blown away by what we came up with in this little kitchen in Salt Lake City. He just couldn't believe it. So we got really lucky. So we do make in a certified organic green distillery in Frederick, Maryland. And that's where we make our vodka. But now we're also making a gin, and I'll tell you a little bit more, making that in Petaluma, California. So going through that process, working with other experts in the field, instead of going to try to own our own distillery, that was not an option at all, or not even necessary. Why do that when you can use somebody else who's already put that sweat equity and already has it set up as certified organic, and absolutely incredible entrepreneur people, to work with.
Yeah. And to partner with somebody like that, obviously has gone through the hoops and everything that you need to go through. I would imagine they'd be excited to partner with somebody like yourself to say, hey, look, we're trying to change the game here. Like, we're trying to provide an option for people where they can be healthy and still have a good time and relax and know that what they're putting in their system is healthy for them, and know what's going into their system, which I think is
I think,
important.
Andrew, a better way to say it, to frame it, is less bad, not healthy.
Yes.
It's still
less
alcohol.
Bad. Yeah, for sure. You still have to do it moderately. And
that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah. No, I like that. Now, 4 years of trying to come up with a formula and going to school and everything like that, not doing your work. I would imagine this is not something like that. It's like, you could bootstrap it, but it's a very difficult thing to just bootstrap yourself. I assumed you look for investors, and you had investors and people interested. How does that work when you start a company like this with such I'm not gonna say I guess it's a more of a rebellious nature in that in the alcohol industry, but something that's so innovative. To get investors, was that a difficult pitch to make for this type of brand that you were trying to create?
In the beginning, it really was not, because we had people really excited to help us, but we did bootstrap it, all through that 4 years, and put a lot of money into the company. But then Woody Harrelson drank a bottle of Origin Holistic Spirits vodka, and one of our investors, who's been a friend and business partner of mine for almost 35 years, he knew Woody's manager from another investment that he had done. And he just said, hey, you should send him a bottle and see, just send it to him, because he might want to be an investor in the company. Yeah. Not even Woody, but Woody's manager.
Right.
And so, so he got it, and he goes, oh my gosh, I need to send this to Woody. Woody is going to want this, because Woody really likes clean spirits. He likes clear. He likes he drinks natural wine. You know,
Yep.
he's very picky about what he puts
Right.
into his body.
Very.
When he
Yeah.
saw the ingredients on the label, he was like, oh my gosh, I got to. So we sent 2 bottles to Woody, and he and his wife and his neighbors in Hawaii came over, and they pretty much drank a whole bottle. And so in one night to test it out.
Well, you got to test it out. You got to test it out.
They totally went all in and tested it out. And they called literally the next day. They're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I want this in my body. I want this in my world. Yeah. And I've been waiting for this. Like, thank God. Hallelujah. I got to meet this person, this crazy person. So we got on a Zoom. We totally connected. And I was like, Woody, you're amazing. I've always loved you and I respect the crap out of you. But, you know, we're not looking for a celebrity money grab kind of guy. You know, we're looking for a real partner. And if you want to get involved, we'd love you to invest in the company. So let's have a conversation about that. And he did. And it was incredible. And he brought some other people that are really fantastic, you know, people to have on our team as well. So we work with their team. He does, you know, he's got a great team. We have a call every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And the most important part of what he does is these kinds of things that we're doing right now, interviews for magazines to educate people more about why we're doing what we're doing and why he got excited about the company.
And look, I don't know. I've never met Woody Harrelson. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him. He seems, from a celebrity point of view, like one of the most down to earth types of people that you can meet. And we know, you know, everybody knows of his clean living type of style, you know, vegan, very clean. I believe there was a joke that was made on a celebrity talk show with one of his co-stars. I blank on her name. He starred with her, but she would joke around with him. She would drive him to work, or while she was driving him to work, she would bring him to like a McDonald's drive-through and drive him nuts, and he's get all mad at her and kind of stuff. But because everybody knows Woody likes, you know, clean living. Like he likes his vegan lifestyle. He wants to make sure that everything's organic, everything's good for him in his life, you know, the way he sees it. And I think that, and it kind of speaks to his down to earth personality from what I gather, like, and from what I see, and obviously you kind of agree with that in terms of, you know, getting to know him and so forth. And I think it's important to have a celebrity like that when you start talking about having a spirit an alcohol that is, you know, that's cleaner, you know, like you said, less bad for you than all the others. And to just even ask the question, even to think about asking the question, like, how good is this gin for me? You know, even though it's alcohol and I want to have a good time and it tastes good, or a vodka that tastes good, but how good is it? Like, there are so many mixtures of these drinks of gin and vodka these days, and you don't know what's in them. You just drink them because somebody either told you about them, or you see it on TV, or, you know, you just find it in the liquor store, and you just start to drink them, and because you like them and then you like the way it feels on a hot summer day or what have you, and then you start to go. But you know, now for me, meeting you and knowing about this brand, you're like, well, yeah, is this as good for me, or is this not as bad for me? Like, I want to know what this really is. I think it's an important question to ask. And I think having Woody Harrelson attached to it in the capacity that he is, and not just like the face of it, he is an investor and he wants to know more about it and his business practices. I think that's really great to be able to do that. But then, like, you know, I don't know much about making a product and stuff. My product is information. That's how I run my business. And obviously, you know, the information is important in this aspect for alcohol. But once you have the formula, once you kind of figured it out, what's the next steps that you have to take in terms of, you know, making the product at a particular scale? Do you start off trying to ramp it up as much as possible, or do you start off slow? How does that work? And where do you start to get the distribution and things like that?
Right. So you can do it a couple different ways. We started off slow because we needed to have proof of concept.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have Woody Harrelson get excited and me to be excited because finally somebody made something I actually want to drink.
Right.
We needed to show, because of the skepticism in the spirits world, show that there were people that would want to buy this. So it's very funny. So the first thing we did, which makes zero sense, but just what we did. So we went to the Wilshire Country Club. Okay. We made 500 bottles. Okay.
Okay.
And we had a friend who was a member of the Wilshire Country Club. And he said, listen, I'm in charge of the LPGA tournament. I think you guys should host a bar at the LPGA tournament at my country club, and all the members are going to come try it. And you're just going to have this little group of people that see what they think over 4 days. Okay. Yeah. And there were 2 different golf tournaments. There was one there and another one the next week at Palos Verdes. So we said, that's a great idea. It was absolutely incredible. People were just loving it, and they were so excited, and they were just like, but what was interesting, which I didn't realize, is a lot of the people that watch ladies golf, professional golf, are Korean men that don't drink vodka.
Okay. They don't drink vodka.
No, they don't drink vodka. They drink whiskey or bourbon or scotch. Yeah, very expensive, barrel aged for 20 years, Right. Ours is made in one day. Ours is like having a smoothie. It's like a fresh juice in a bottle, okay? And so they're coming up and they're like, what is that? Because it's a copper, pinky, brownish color, clear liquid.
For sure.
And it looks like whiskey.
Yeah.
So I was telling them it was vodka. I was like, all right, you guys just need to try this. So we made old fashions. We made some cocktails with it, and they just absolutely loved it. Everybody loved it. It was great. And it was a really good, sort of a market where there were all different ages, because there were young people, there were older people. It was all variety of different, even though it was an open tournament. So people could come and see it. So there were all different kinds of people that were coming to it for 4 days.
Great testing area.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Then we made 1,000 cases. Okay. After that.
Cases.
So then, 1,000 cases, which is not really that much, believe it or not.
Okay. How much in a case? How many in a case?
6 bottles. So,
Okay.
All right. So, and then so that was our round 1. And from there, so since we started, Andrew, we've sold 4,000 cases, and that's been over about a year and a half. So now, but we make them in these increments, right? Yeah. And we also know that whenever those ingredients come in, because we have 4 ingredients that are from all over the world. Gotcha. Artichoke leaves from France. They're harvested 4 times a year. Elderberry extract. Elderberries are grown in Europe, mostly in the Alps. They're grown in Poland. There's a war. I mean, the Ukrainian war. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
For sure.
And then we have the muscadine grapes, which are a seasonal grape that's harvested in October. They're grown in the United States.
Okay.
And if there's a freeze, like there just was, a foot of snow in Georgia, which is where they're grown. And then we have green tea from China. So we have these ingredients from all over the world. Wow. And then our base spirit is an organic wheat in the vodka that's European wheat. So, you've got all these dynamics of how you're going to source these ingredients, right? And so we really had to get all that organized, and also in such an effective way of understanding how these ingredients get here, and thinking all along that we wanted this company to be a certified B Corp. From day one, I became obsessed with what's called conscious capitalism, and following John Mackey and his story, reading the books, going to the Conscious Capitalism Summit meetings, learning about conscious capitalism and why it's so important to instill those principles in your business at the beginning instead of waiting until later. Right. So that's where all of these things were in the back of my mind too. But the ingredients that we discovered that worked were from all over the world. So we couldn't help but have that be what it is.
Yep.
Okay.
That was your limiting factor too, right? Yeah. Especially now too, there's so many, in different parts of the world, there's so many things that could be affecting these crops, from droughts to freezes to wildfires to anything. So that's a lot of risk even though it's great to have all those to be combined, it's a lot of risk you take. So you have to be careful in terms of how those are managed, I guess, right?
You need to find out what the backup plan is, all the different resources, the different growers. And what's cool is these ingredients are mostly used in supplements, not used in alcohol. So they're used in natural medicine and in supplements. So, and they're grown, and they're very successful being used in supplements. So they're powders. And so, we have a base spirit, and then it's distilled and it's filtered, it's 18 times distilled 18 times. And then, so all the impurities are out, literally. Mm-hmm. And then we add these superfood botanicals in after it's been distilled, and they're never heated. They don't go through distillation at all. They're just
Right.
suspended in the liquid, and then they're filtered a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because they have to be. You don't
Yeah.
want particles floating around.
Right.
So there's a whole process, but once we understood how to do that, it's actually very easy to make. And what's wonderful is the companies that we work with to get our ingredients are so excited about what we're doing because it's never been done this way before. They don't
Right.
sell ingredients like that to alcohol companies.
Right.
So we can get whatever we need because they're so excited, even if we're just a little company. And like during COVID, elderberry extract was in very short supply because everyone was taking it for their immune system. And
Yes.
you literally, unless you had a contract with an elderberry company, you're not getting elderberry extract.
No.
But once they found out what we were doing, they were like, you can have whatever you want. We'll make sure you have
Wow.
it. So that was
amazing.
exciting. I know.
Yeah. It's got to be exciting when you get buy-in from everybody who wants to help you succeed.
Exactly.
Right? Because they could have said no, because I'm sure if they had other priorities. They could have said no whenever they want, but they're like, no, we really believe in this. This is something that we think that can really work. That's incredible.
It is. It's very exciting because you get to learn one thing that's so fascinating. There's so many interesting people in this whole soup that we have going on.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of really interesting people that are so get behind you, and that helps encourage when when times are the going gets tough.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny because you mentioned at the beginning, it's like the best thing you can do is tell people about your ideas. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning, when they have an idea, they don't want to necessarily tell everybody because they don't want to give away their ideas for that person to turn around and develop that idea on their own. Here you are like, no, tell people that you want to tell the world, because you never know who's going to buy in, who's going to help, who's going to prioritize you over other priorities. That's a very different way of thinking when it comes to entrepreneurism.
It is, and it's a really important way of thinking because you cannot do this. I mean, you think of all the people that have these great ideas and they never do anything with the idea because they just don't believe in themselves that they could get it done, which is why you have to talk to people because you might have a great idea and you don't have the capability of doing it or the money, right? But then so the investor side, you were asking me about that a little bit, and that, now we're at the next phase where the liquor business is very expensive business to be in.
Yes.
I had no idea.
What makes it so? Is it the bringing all the things together to make the actual alcohol, or is it, or the spirit, or is it more of the distribution and all the things afterwards?
All the things afterwards.
Yeah.
It's not inexpensive to make either. But in terms of the margins are there for it to be a solid business. If you get your economies of scale and you work with the right partners and you control your growth, right? Because if you go too big too fast and you don't have enough money for distribution and your sales forces and your marketing spend, and it's just expensive to get on a cocktail menu in a bar. It's expensive to set up your distributor relationships where you have to help do incentives for all the salespeople. It's expensive for going into Total Wine and More and doing all their consumer education classes and tastings at every store. It just adds up. And then the digital marketing and the advertising. Now we have Woody Harrelson, we have all these beautiful. So there's it depends on what you want your business to be. You could be a little distillery, which is lovely, a little family business in Tennessee and have your whatever, and that's great, and just have a nice life. But that's not what we're doing. No. Our goal is to educate and make a huge splash and to show people this is the next best thing. Clueless consumption is over. You now have a choice of what you put into your body.
Yeah.
You have a choice to give a shit too, and that's Woody. Okay.
100%. I completely agree. I love that. And you talk about things to do like distribution and then getting into, certain stores doing testings and stuff. It gets expensive too. But there are certain things that you'd like to do to help develop the business even more. one of the big things that you've recently gained was, and we talked a little bit about it, was the B Corp status, right? And being part of the B Corp. Can you talk a little bit about what B Corp is for some of the audience people who don't know? We've talked a little bit about it on this podcast, but if you can just kind of make that, and then why it was important for Holistic Spirits to be on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, B Corp is a platform that audits, if you will, and validates businesses for their practices around environmental, their governance, their employee, the way they treat employees, the way they treat their stakeholders and inform stakeholders, their suppliers. And so if you, again, I think a really easier way for people to understand is to read the book Conscious Capitalism. Okay.
Right,
Then you'll really
right.
understand why a B Corp. And there's a lot of companies that act like a B Corp, but they don't go through that process. It's really hard to do once you're already in business, because you
Right.
have to open up your entire financial, all your supplier contracts, all your distributor contracts, where you're buying all your materials, all your shipping costs, everything you do, all your materials, your bottling, your boxes, you know, how much water, how much energy your distilleries are using, you know, how much leave you're giving to employees when they have a child, like what kind of governance you have on your board, you know, what are your board policies, like everything about your business has to be disclosed in the way you're operating your business, and have somebody else look at all of that and tell you basically whether you are on a path to become a B Corp, which you have to get, I think it's a 80% approval. I can't remember exactly what the ratio is. I think we got 82%. And what's the most important part of this for us was we had our entire team with our employees all involved in the process. So there was so much work that had to be done to provide documentation. And I wanted everyone on our team to learn what those things were and why we had to do them.
Yeah.
And then writing policies, you know, an employee handbook, and having everyone sign off on that. Like, when was the last job you ever had? Okay, I've been in business for I'm 63, since I was 14 years old. I can't remember reading an employee handbook.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you have.
First time I did it was at the job I'm at right now, and that was like 3 months ago.
Okay, you've been in business for a while.
Yeah.
So having these things in place to get everyone on board,
Yeah.
to get behind this movement around, if you're going to do it, it's just like the alcohol. If you're going to drink, why not drink better? If you're going to have a company, why not operate better for everybody's benefit, not just us, but everyone in the world's benefit?
Yeah.
Well, and that's really what B Lab is.
100%. And I think what's interesting about that is when you have a company where you're treating people well, like the staff, you're treating the stakeholders, you're treating the environment, you have an impact, you have a mission that goes beyond just profit, and you care about the planet, you care about what's in your product. It makes it, you make almost a stronger, you do make a stronger company, because you get people who work for you, who work for the company, who love it, right? Who come in every day being passionate because they know that, they're doing good, and they're doing good work. They're taking care of their customers. They're taking care of each other. They're being taken care of. That helps in every aspect. The environment's being taken care of. And I think someone who's an employee at a different company, you're like, okay, yeah, I get this. This seems like a really good plan. And I can, I can see myself being here for a long time because they actually care for the people in all aspects of the company. I think that's really important to drive.
Absolutely. And to attract talent.
Yeah.
It creates so much value in the sense of the kind of people that you actually really want truly have their heart and soul in that movement.
Absolutely.
That you can bring on board. And that part to me is just absolutely priceless. And you're right, 10 times success. If you read, that's why I want everyone to read Conscious Capitalism.
Yes.
If you truly implement these measures, even if you only did 60% of it, right?
Right.
Your success level is so much greater with these principles. Yeah. And so from it, just in general, if you're going to work, why not have the odds in your favor When
Yes.
you are bringing all of these things to the table, where you do have that skin in the game, you have that mindset where the people that come to work every day are so passionate about it and that they really truly care, and you
Yeah.
just create a movement. And that's one of our, it's not a drink, it's a movement. That's what
Yeah.
Holistic Spirits Company is.
I like that. I like that. It's not just a drink; it's a movement. I think
That's right.
that's important because we need more companies. Like, we're in a very interesting time in the world, and we're at a point where companies can be very detrimental to society, and companies can be very good for society. And I think supporting companies that are very good society becomes we will have a better society by doing that in all aspects of life. And doesn't matter the product that they sell, because we know that it's a benefit. Then we can work with that. And I think people, as just regular citizens, will be like, this is what we need people to help out, we need people to care again, and not just have profit, but have impact, have purpose in life. And I think that's what the B Labs and the B Corps do on a regular basis. It's in the mandate, right? It's in
Yes.
the audit, is to how much do you care, how much are you willing
Yes.
to go above and beyond what you are required to do to make a better world for everybody, not just the people in your circles. And I think that's really great. Now, I have to know, this is something that's not easy to get, to get a B Corp status. When you received it, or first, when did you receive it, and how did you feel when you received it?
We received it in November
Okay.
of 20, and so we kind of been holding off as we did our press release in January.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we I mean, it's right now I'm sitting here going, we haven't even had a proper celebration with our team. We need to do something. So I'm really glad that you're talking about this right now, because I haven't done anything yet, except say, oh my gosh, you guys
Oh
are
my gosh,
amazing.
we got it.
Yeah. We kind of knew we were going to get it because we worked so hard. We hired a couple people to help us go through the process. Again, why not work with people that already know how to do this and go, okay, guys, here's what you're going to have to do, instead of just going, we wanted to make sure we nailed it. So we did hire some people that helped us, but we had to go through the process. They didn't do it for us. They just told us, this is what you're going to need, and they helped us. And these were people that I had already known from different incubator, sustainability incubators we've supported and things like that. We've always been a supporter in my other industry too, of like sponsoring things. And even when I was a financial advisor, where things around sustainability and things like, and supporting entrepreneurs that are doing really cool things with sustainability. So so excited and so proud. We're also working on another certification called the Butterfly Mark, which is called Positive Luxury, which is for I'm going to say it's more in the luxury brand space.
Yeah.
It's a European mark that is even harder to get. So we are working on that. Most of the B Labs, believe it or not, B Corps, there's more European companies that are B Corps than American companies. And the same thing with the Positive Luxury. So we're still working through that. And we really want to have that as well. And honestly, this is really good for our marketing efforts to do that extra thing and do we believe that our brand is a global brand, and the world should know about holistic spirits and a better way to drink. And so we're just setting up the stage. We're just putting all the, the backdrops and the curtains and, all the things for the play to start, basically. And a lot of people would say, well, that just doesn't seem like a very good way to spend money. And I don't really care what they say, because that's what I see this movie, the stage, getting ready for the big, performance. And what's so exciting is that the spirits industry also is recognizing the distributors, because we've had a hard time getting a distributor for our weird brand. Even with Woody Harrelson, it's not a slam dunk, not even. Andrew, I mean, there's 68,000 brands. It's crazy.
It's so many.
So it's just insane. So all these things have helped us. We just finally signed with Southern Glazer Wine and Spirits, and that's the #1 distributor in the United States. So they didn't pick up very many brands. They vetted like 750 brands last year, and I think they picked 4.
Wow.
So because of these things, we know the data is there, and you should
Yeah.
be excited, and your listeners should be excited too, that this next generation of kids and people that want stuff care about this kind of stuff. And
Yep.
so, where is the market going? Then it's going towards better
Yeah.
way to live, better way to experience life, better way to be a human and care about stuff and not just be clueless.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of that. And now we have to get to work. We're launching the market in California. And that's really where, we should shine. That's our market, California. I mean, if we don't make it in California with holistic spirits, I mean, forget it. We're going to have to go to I don't know, Minnesota or something.
Yeah.
I mean, a little town in Minnesota with all the crunchy people.
Yeah. No, I get it. And if you can come up to Canada, you can get the BC crowd and everything,
exactly.
and the Ontario crowd. I mean, you're familiar with the Ontario
totally.
crowd. It's very down to this type of stuff, and I think it's important. Going back to are you allowed to sell in Europe then? Is that a market for you?
Not
since
yet.
You're trying to get that? Okay.
Not yet. We have a lot of interest over there, and again, it's just taking those baby steps to.
Yeah.
If we can get California, we are in different states. We're in Utah, which is doing extremely well there. We're in New York. We've got some markets on the East Coast, Florida, but we're slowly controlling the growth so we don't grow too fast.
Of course.
But Europe is going to be so exciting to do business over there. And we're looking forward to that. And China wants us already.
Really?
I just got, Shanghai.
That's interesting. Wow.
An importer in Shanghai.
Okay. There you go.
I'm like, we got all these little carrots, these little shiny objects. I'm like, no.
You gotta hold.
We do.
Be patient, and it'll get there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because from the European standpoint, their standards for health and wellness, just in the regular brands, is very strict compared to North American standards. Am I correct?
It is. Yes.
Yeah, it's a very difficult. Yeah. So when it's a North American brand trying to break into the European brand, I see what you mean or the European markets, I can see where you mean by it becomes more strict. So you have to do a little bit more work in prep. Not that the system that you have to change, but you just have to work a little bit harder or a little bit more for prep.
It's expensive, taxes and all different tariffs.
Of course.
And different,
the VATs and stuff.
But exactly. But, and overall though, drinking is down, it just is everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's a number of reasons for it. The economies throughout the world. COVID changed people's patterns. They don't go out as much, not,
for sure.
Drinking, enjoying things at home a little bit. And honestly, in the United States, this GLP-1, people taking these Ozempic, GLP-1 activators is really causing people not to crave alcohol. It's very interesting. Oh,
Ozempic is really changing the game, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but
this is real. People are not craving it, going home and having that too. Maybe they'll have a half a glass that's one thing. And then the younger kids are choosing to not drink as much because they're learning more, about the dangers, and maybe they have different alternatives, than we had back in the day.
Yeah. That is true.
Right?
There's a few I'm sure we're thinking of that become a lot more apparent than here in Canada, and I'm sure in California and in different states. But
totally.
I mean, this is great. It's been so fun to have you on and learn about the sustainability part of the alcohol business, and not only making it healthy, but making it sustainable and using natural ingredients and organic ingredients, and then just really disrupting a market that people really didn't think about, when they had alcohol. I think it's really important, and the collaborations you've made and the research that you've done with a number of different experts around the world, and being able to pull in different ingredients. That's phenomenal to be able to do. And in this space, as competitive as it is, I'm looking forward to being able to taste it one day. And
good.
And
well, send me your address. I'll send you some.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to. But Amy, I want to thank you so much. I'd love to have you back on to find out, what you're up to in a few months or within the next year, to just
Sure.
be like, hey, let's see what she's up to and where this brand is going and what other feats you've been able to accomplish. But I know you've put in so much work, and I really do appreciate it from this is a message from your consumers and your customers, to being able, like, this is awesome. And I'm looking forward to being able to try it and share it with my listeners.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. And thank you for all the work you're doing. It was so great watching. I'm in Mexico, seeing the whales and thinking about, all the work you're doing to protect the ocean. And it is just extraordinary and needs to be done. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amy, for joining us on today's episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. It was so great to have you on the podcast. One of my favorite interviews to be able to do, because it's an industry that I don't know much about. And you're probably wondering, like, Andrew, what does this have to do with the ocean? And we're in a time where things are chaotic, in North America, especially when we look at different governments and how regulations are being stripped back for the oceans and environment. And it can be really tough. We have to rely on good companies that want to not only make a profit, but have an impact. The impact is first. And Amy's impact was, she wants to make a beverage that is better for you. When you're drinking alcohol, you don't know what's involved in making of that alcohol. You don't know what all the extra additives are in there, and they don't have to be reported. But as she mentioned, when you put together a drink like she's putting together, you have to put all the additives in, which is fine, because she wants to be transparent. She wants you to know what you're putting into your body. And I think that's wonderful. I thought it was a really good story, the way Woody Harrelson came on with the brand and is now, an active investor and has a team around it. And obviously, he has a very good reputation around eating healthy, eating good foods, eating organic, vegan, that kind of stuff. And so it's really great to see someone so down to earth, especially from a celebrity point of view, to be able to be a part of this. And I think it adds to the brand. But really, when it really comes down to it, to be able to drink something that is pretty much good for you from an alcoholic beverage standpoint, and compare it to all the other brands out there, that you're like, you know what, this is a game changer. And I'm looking forward to working more with Amy to helping grow this brand. So I'm so happy that Amy joined us today. So Amy, thank you so much. I'm going to put the links to their socials as well as their website in the show notes. If you have any questions or comments around that, please let me know. Just put in the comment in the description or in the comments below on YouTube or on Spotify. And if you have a question for me and you're listening to this on any of your favorite podcast apps, you can hit me up on Instagram at How to Protect the Ocean. That's at How to Protect the Ocean. Other than that, I want to thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I am your host, Angelo, and have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.